everyone, and welcome back to our BCBA Exam Prep Series. I'm Katherine Kellogg, and today the topic is stimulus control and discrimination. For the TCO6, this will be B12 and B13. I'm going to not only talk about the definitions of stimulus control and discrimination training, but we'll also talk about key exam tips and focus words that you should try to think about as you're dissecting questions. So what is stimulus control? In the other video, we talked about what stimuli are in the environment and how this influences our behavior. Stimulus control is the degree to which the behavior is influenced by stimuli, by antecedent stimuli. There are specific triggers or discriminative stimuli that will evoke behaviors. And when we're analyzing behavior, we want to figure out what those are. What are the triggers that evoke behavior, or which stimuli currently control the behavior? We want to know this because if we can look for those patterns, we can then identify replacement behaviors or identify environmental strategies or manipulations that we can do to help our clients and help people that we're teaching. Also, in understanding our own behavior, we can identify which common patterns we have and which behavior patterns we exhibit so that we can even change our own behavior if we want to. When you hear strong or weak stimulus control, strong stimulus control means most of the time when the stimuli is presented, then the behavior is going to happen. Weak would be that it's maybe less than 50% of the time the behavior is going to happen when the stimuli is presented. Let's talk about some example. Child raises hand only when the teacher asks questions. That's very strong stimulus control. This might not be necessary or a target behavior, but just reading child raises hands only when teacher asks a question. That has strong stimulus control. Student completes work only when the timer is visible. That would mean that the timer is controlling that behavior. Another one would be if a teacher says, everybody line up, a child lines up every single time. The teacher's words or demand of lining up does have strong stimulus control. There might be another kid in the class that needs more prompting. So let's talk about that. If they say, okay, everybody line up, and then there's another kid that needs more prompting, like a physical guidance or a gesture, what is controlling the behavior? Is it her words of line up? No, that's the goal. However, right now, the student needs a prompt or a gesture, and that is what is controlling the behavior right now. So when we're looking at what is the actual stimulus controlling the behavior, we're also saying what prompting is needed to complete the task or complete what is needed to be done. Then that comes into transferring stimulus control. So I know these are really some big words, but when we just think about it in the way of prompting and what's controlling the behavior, is it a visual? We all have things that we need to help us remember. Okay, so for laundry, for example, if the laundry basket is out of sight, out of mind, I'm not going to do it. I need to visibly see the laundry there to do it. The laundry basket being present, that controls my behavior of doing the laundry. There's no other thing in the environment. And that might be fine. That's a natural stimuli. But when we think about transferring stimulus control, if there's something else that is maybe makes more independence or helps with efficiency that would be better to control the behavior, we can transfer stimulus control. So let's say instead I wanted a reminder on my phone. I could transfer that control. With the lining up example, if the goal is that the words line up, control the behavior. So we would fade out the physical gesture prompts and pair it with the language and eventually hope that the words of lining up alone control the behavior. Or test prep keywords, look for identifying stimulus control, behavior that occurs predictably with certain stimuli or in the presence of. Also, you might see when or whenever. You might also see wording like consistent patterns of responding or environmental triggers for behavior. With strong versus weak stimulus control in the test prep, you might also see in questions behavior occurs consistently with specific stimuli, clear environmental triggers. Behavior occurs randomly regardless of environment for weak stimulus control. No clear patterns in when the behavior happens, that would also be a weak stimulus control indicator. Or multiple different stimuli evoke the same behavior. That's also considered weak stimulus control. Just ask yourself for an exam strategy when you are trying to analyze stimulus control questions, ask yourself what makes this behavior happen? Look for consistency and antecedent conditions. Is it time based? Think about anything that you might write in your ABC data. Is it time based? Is there medication changes? Is it a loud environment? Are there many people around? Preferred items, non preferred items, demands being placed. Look for those consistent antecedent conditions to try to see what is controlling the behavior. Common distractors in the questions will be related to motivating operations. Motivating operations do influence the value of reinforcers and influence what we want and what we need in that moment, MO moment. There's another video on that goes into the details. When we're looking at the difference between MO and stimulus, remember, the motivation doesn't signal anything. It influences the value of what we want and what we need, and might make us search for things that we want and we need. But the stimuli are the actual items or events or circumstances in the environment that often signal that there's reinforcement or signal that something's not available. So stimuli are more signals. Motivation are more feelings, wants, needs, desires.